I do that every time, don't I? Say good morning, good morning.
Yep.
I get all excited. I just put in the little link into the chat. So if anyone is on and would like to show their name and so that we can conversate with you, we would love to. So there is a little link in the chat that you can go on, and I think it registers your name. I've never actually done it myself, but
Then we can
how are
see.
you? How are you, Nicolette?
I'm really well, thank you. How are you? It feels like ages goes by between when we see each other, but it's actually only a week. But
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And we were just saying that you and I have both had lots going on, so we haven't been catching up in between, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
But I
um,
know you're there, and you know that I'm here, so
absolutely, and there's no that. Yeah, that's exactly right. Hey,
catch
so today we're talking about. Oh, we've got a few people on. This is
Hello, hello.
some we don't know. Good morning, ladies. What a beautiful Monday morning. Absolutely, I can. I can feel it's a beautiful. It's been beautiful down here. So,
Mm.
how's your week be or your weekend gone, Nicolette?
Yeah, really well. We had a fire last night. Bit of a cruisy, easy weekend, just doing jobs like mowing lawns, and had a massage yesterday. So yeah, I'm good.
That's my next thing on my list. I've been sitting on my butt doing nothing for so long, not nothing, but sitting in front of a screen that
Mm.
I want to get in and do a massage, and I'm going to start stretching a bit more than what I have been. So, and I went to my beach on the weekend.
I saw that in your post. Wow, I'm just a little bit jelly.
Yeah, just up the road, and it's so cool. And I went for a little bit of a wander, and there's another beach a bit further up. There's a bit more of a public beach. So the one I went to, there would have been a scattering of people,
Mm.
and the one up further was a little bit, more of a proper beach with people there and stuff, and then a little bit further up there is a famous area for scuba diving and seeing whales.
Wow,
So yeah, so
that's so cool.
I know, I'm very excited. So we're going to be talking about meanings and definitions. So would love to hear in the chat what your thoughts are about meanings and definitions. And Nicolette, will we just jump on and
Yeah.
go for it straight away? What's your interpretation about meanings and definitions?
Well, what drops into my awareness straight away when you talk about that is that we all have different interpretations of words, of um, our spiritual path and what that means. The word awakening drops into my head. So what does that mean for you? What does that mean for people?
Mm,
Um, because we're all different in our journey, and we're all different in what we have learnt along the way in this life, and therefore our interpretations are different from each other, and it can be very dividing.
yes.
So because as human beings we're almost programmed to band together with people who are like-minded and who see the world the same way that we do. I don't agree with that way of being, but that is the fact that that's what people do. When we interpret things differently, it causes division. Mm.
Absolutely. And and I think and that's one of the things about being human, right? Is that that's what we're here to do, is have a human experience. And part of that is that understanding that we're separate, and what does that mean? What's the contrast? Where is, what are we going to define that as? What is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of anything? My daughter and I had this conversation the other day, when I was moving in here, and she was saying, you know, we can be both looking at the blue sky, and how do we both know that the same what we're experiencing is the same thing? We
Mm.
don't, right? We don't know whether we're actually seeing the same blue or if what, like we've got no real idea, and they'll never know because you're in your own awareness, your own experience.
You know what just dropped into my head? Sorry to interrupt.
Go for it.
That quite often when we are learning something, or when we're being taught something, it's for a different reason and a different intention as well. And so it takes on a different meaning. So when I learned I remember when I learned the Lord's Prayer, and my grandparents were quite religious, but my parents not so much. But mum she said, you need to learn this so that you know the right thing to do in the circumstance of being in church, right? So the intention behind it wasn't to teach me the Lord's Prayer to
it was
pray
to fit in.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
there
you go. Like, this is exactly, I don't know who that is, but meanings and definitions are based on our own experience of what we've been taught by others, right? Which is, that came up just before
as I was.
Yeah. And so it's interesting, isn't it? Because actually we're making everything up. We're making everything up. And so what you make something, you define something, or what you make something mean, some people can get really caught up in that. And this is my world, and this is the way my boundaries and my foundation, and that's the black and white of it, without, and very rigid within that.
Yeah.
And others, and so there's no opportunity for change. There's no opportunity for growth, because they're so rigid. And others flow so much that they don't have. That was me, actually. I found it very hard to make choices. I can see it as a family pattern. My son has it and my brother has it extremely, where we don't have a lot of definitions and meanings around things. And so therefore our choice of whether to have a vanilla ice cream or strawberry ice cream, whatever's given to me is okay, because there's not that real boundary or that structure, as we were talking before we got on, right?
Yeah.
And so, when you're really stuck in your definitions and meanings, or you're so free flowing, both of them are can be if
out of balance.
Here I am actually making a meaning about that. So both of them can be detrimental if you want to change. And you don't know, or if you're having things that are in your life that are unwanted, then that can be that, it can be because of those things, not being able to create a definition. So we make it all up. And so, everything in the field, there is all possibilities, right?
So and our triggers bring up these stories and these meanings to things, to experiences that, like you said, we make it all up. I had this experience last night when I was cooking dinner and I realized what I was doing. So, I had my gallery opening a little while ago, and I had an expectation of how many artworks I was going to sell, how much money I was going to make. There was so much energy and effort go into the opening prior. And everyone who knows me know I'm pretty vulnerable about my journey. So, and I've been disappointed in the weeks following that I didn't reach those goals that I had set. And as I'm making dinner last night, I was having this story in my head of, you're really good at making dinner. You're really good at looking after the family. This is all you're good for.
Oh. Wow.
And as I gave Andrew his dinner, I was like, I just had this awful story.
And I know, because I know you well, that's a narrative from a family pattern, right?
Yeah.
So that's a meaning and definition and we should have even put written structure in here, because and it's not a term that is normally used or understood. I'm really starting. We were just talking about that before we got on here, right? Structure is that is the container in which you were brought up with those meanings. That's how it was defined, that women did this, right? And so here we are. How old are you?
40.
40. So, when did you have your birthday?
January.
Oh, bugger. I wouldn't have been able to come anyway. But, here we are. We're in our 40s, 50s, and still got these structures from our, like we've got a 7-year-old or a 4-year-old.
And I'm very aware of that pattern and that structure within me. And I have, in the past, say 5 years, I've tried to break away from that, being the supporter and the of other people, and step out. You know how much I have stepped out into my light.
Yeah.
But I still get drawn back into, when I'm in my shadow, I still get drawn back into those meanings of, because this isn't who you are, because this isn't what you're supposed to be doing. So that
Are you okay if we went through, so here you are, you didn't get the expectation of what you wanted, and so you've gone back into an old pattern of this is what you're good at. What did you make that mean? How did you define yourself through that?
That I don't know the way, that I'm supposed to support and follow others.
Yeah.
And then there's a sense of failure that I haven't broken that pattern, because I know that it's a pattern.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a couple of elements to it.
Yeah. And someone here has just put, I don't know who it is. I feel like you're telling my story, going back to the safe zone, old patterns. Yeah. And is it the safe zone, or is it just the structure that we've been it's moving out of that structure into, we've been born into a structure of sabotage beliefs, right? I'm incapable of shifting. I don't know how, and down below that, what does that mean? Do you mind if we
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Down below, I'm incapable of shifting.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can you phrase it another way?
So underneath, I'm not capable of shifting. Is there something else that comes up for you? So if you're not capable, does that mean something else?
Means that I'll be letting people down. So when I see myself in the family home and supporting my family, if I get too successful, then I won't be here when I need to be. For my kids, for Andrew's kids, for him.
So there's a loop, right? I want to be successful, but if I am, I won't be able to sit in this role.
Which doesn't make any sense, because my whole intention for my business has always been, and I have succeeded in creating it so that it's flexible around the kids and around Andrew and our life together. So,
you know why it doesn't make sense? Because your adult brain can see the illogical pattern, but your four-year-old brain doesn't understand that, right? So the survival part, the identity, is is saying I'm incapable. There's something underneath that as well. There's still something under.
That I won't be loved.
You won't be loved. And what happens if you're not loved?
It's all for nothing. I think.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because can you see the structure though? Like it's really interesting what we define ourselves in and the definitions and how they control our it's our subconscious patterning, right?
I think, yeah. And as a woman, I'm not supposed to be that successful.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy, isn't it? Hey, like our adult, who I am now knows that is so ridiculous. We're living in the 20th century, like 21st century.
And that I'm not supposed to be the leader. So, growing up on the property, Dad was always, I'm the captain of this ship, and you do what I say, and so that keeps everyone safe, and it keeps everyone following the right direction, like, because it gets confusing if there's too many leaders. But what that instilled in me is that I'm always looking to men for direction.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, I am good at leading, but there's a part of me that sabotages it, I think.
Yeah.
So that I'm not more successful than my brothers or my partner Andrew or my dad. Or
so isn't it interesting to have those because these are definitions or meanings that are underneath. They're silent ones, right? They're instructions that are held in a pattern or a loop from previous experience that have been ingrained and conditioned in from family patterns, as whoever that was, old patterns, our safe zone.
Yeah.
And so here we are. It's about busting the illusions. I love that. Whoever that is, it's busting the illusions. And that's, where we're at the moment, right? We're in this busting the illusions, and how like shifting out of those patterns and moving into, because they are all a vibrational energy that's holding us into a loop. So here you are saying, I'm not good enough. All I can do is make dinner and be a good wife, and that's affecting what you wanted to achieve with your artwork. By the way, I like some of the stuff you're pulling out at the moment. It's just unbelievable. I was seeing that one that you were doing with the hairdryer the other day. And I'm like, whoa, look at the colors and stuff in that. It's amazing. Yeah, really, really interesting. Hey, what is it that we make something mean? So, here's some for anyone that's watching. What is it that you make something mean, and where did that meaning come from for you? Where did you?
Is it the 4-year-old you?
Yeah, yeah, and even ask yourself: is it before, after, or during birth? Because it could be something that that could have been within that whole structure of your because water holds a matrix, right? It's got sacred geometry to it. Water crystallized. What's that guy's name? Emoto. Do you know the guy I'm talking about?
No.
You don't know about, what's his name? Emoto. What's his name? He did this thing with water, right? So he actually took water so he lives in Japan or somewhere like that, I don't even, what I'm like with living on the planet, right? he Emoto, I think it's Japanese. Is Hiroshima from Japan?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. So he took water from a lake or a river in after Hiroshima. Masaru Emoto. Thank you. I bet that's Helen. Maybe it's not. So thank you, whoever that is. And he took water and he flash froze it so that it was really fast, and then looked at it and saw the crystalline structure. And so when it was in the water was in from the the river, it was just broken. There wasn't any structure to it, and it was all dirty and mucky looking underneath this microscope. And he got the same water and he put it in containers, and he wrote on one of them love, gratitude, appreciation, all these different words.
I do know.
And so completely changed by the vibration of the word. He completely changed the structure of the water, and they formed back into these amazing, sacred geometry, like snowflakes, but all individual, appreciation's very different to gratitude and love, and heavy metal was very different, to classical music and all of those things. And so, when we're in the structure of the womb, whatever our mother is experiencing or thinking, and her understanding and definitions, and I never thought of that actually. Definitions that she creates is creating a formation and a structure that we are incubating in and soaking up. Very interesting, isn't it?
And it's so I mean, every generation tries to buck the system of the generation before, but it is quite difficult to live in a completely different way, or and that's why, like, I have been, particularly in the last 6 or 7 years, I have been very open to change and growth. And you only have to see how many times my haircut's changed in the last 7 years, which drives my parents insane.
What is she doing now? I know that one from my family.
What have we done there now? So setting that intention to be open has been a massive, but for you've always been open to change, haven't you? Or open to new definitions, to bring it back to the topic, new definitions and meanings in life.
You know why though? It started out of a place of negativity, actually. For me, it started, and I think I've shared this before, not knowing and feeling like everyone else knew. And so I've always held a lot of innocence in my structure, like I don't know, and I'm curious about knowing. So my curiosity about everything in my innocence, and at first I used to think that my innocence was a problem, that I was wrong and everyone else was right, and I used to listen and get myself 10 years in a horrible drug infest world. And then because I followed whatever was going on around me and listened to the people that were around me, until I started recognizing. I used to think that everything that happened to me happened for a reason, and that I had to say yes to it. Like, there's a meaning for you. Like, that's crazy. I actually remember when that changed, and I was living across. I'd already separated. Was living single mum, living across from a set of flats that were all a little bit, crazy people or whatever. And there was a young kid that used to come and play with my son, and he was only about 5 or 6. And I remember he used to play all the time, come over and I'd feed him. And I got to this point where I'd go to the supermarket, or on a Sunday we'd go to Rusty's, which is a fruit and veg place, market, and I'd go on a Sunday afternoon when everything was cheap, because they were trying to get rid of everything before they all left, and I'd be buying for how many kids that were going to be at my house. And this one day, this kid, I'll never forget it, because his dad came to the door and he said, I want to get my son. We're all over having a barbecue. And I'd never met him before. Big burly Navy guy. And and his son comes to the door with me, and he looks up at me and he said, but I haven't had my dinner yet. And his dad goes, it's okay, mate. We're all over there having beers, and you can have a sausage off the barbecue. And he looks at me and he's like, but I haven't had my dinner yet. And he takes him off over his shoulder. It was such a heartbreaking moment for me, because he's walking across the road with this kid and his arms out at me, saying, yelling out, but I haven't had my dinner yet, looking at me. And I remember in that moment, after that, processing that, realizing that sometimes things are happening so that I can say no to it. Because I thought everything meant I had to say yes to it. Everything's happening for a reason. And I actually moved to protect my kids from, and I moved house. But I used to have this thing that everything that I was wrong and that everyone else was right, until I redefined that my innocence was my biggest strength.
Yeah.
Because we're making everything up, right?
Yeah.
So I had made it mean that there was something wrong with me. And then nothing had changed other than my definition of it. I redefined that my innocence was my biggest strength. And so now my innocence is my biggest strength, because it brings this curiosity. Oh, I wonder why this is happening. Oh, I wonder why this is happening.
Because you're teaching people how to be in their innocence and how to be curious and not to live by their definitions that they've grown up with and all that sort of thing. When you were talking, what comes up for me is I've always felt that compared to other people, I'm too trusting. So I'll take people not only on face value, but on my best interpretation of them.
Yeah.
So I'm never worried about being broken into or being taken advantage of, or because I don't see that in people.
Yes. And yet we've all got it in us, right? And so when you can see the unwanted parts of someone just as much as the wanted parts of someone, then you almost in that definition, have you found that you've had people that you have people in your life that you don't trust? Or you've had moments,
I've had moments of deep disappointment when people don't turn out to be what I think, what I've interpreted them to be.
Yeah.
When they show that side to me, that is betrayal, or it is, I'm so shocked that it's very painful, because it's like, oh, I didn't see that coming, because I never do.
Yeah. And is that from a place of not so you want to see the best in people, and you don't want to see the worst in people?
Because I want people to feel my 100% support always.
Yeah.
And I want them to feel like they can be their best version of themselves. So I don't even acknowledge the worst
parts
of them.
And can I just a little bit for you?
Yeah.
If you see the best and the worst in them and choose the best, but know that there's the worst, then
that's been my journey.
Yeah.
Is knowing all parts of people and loving them anyway, or
Yes.
even when I feel that deep disappointment, like getting over that hurdle and you know, that massive forgiveness that comes with when people disappoint you, or and loving them anyway.
Yeah.
Go back to seeing the best in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because when you can see the best and the worst, or the wanted and the unwanted, right, then you're open to all of that information in the field coming in. So when something is potentially coming up in the near future, you can interpret it before it's happening.
Yeah.
And not have that disappointment because you've already, you know,
prepared for it, or yeah. And the always being a you know, a piece of the light, and always being that focusing on the best, and being a bit of a dreamer. I know that that's my biggest strength, but the journey has been for me to understand it's my biggest strength, but I also understand that the knowledge of the darkness, or the unwanted, the wanted and the unwanted in people, just gives me more a broader perspective, not such a narrow perspective, because I think that innocence, or that being so trusting of people, and being always seeing the best, that la 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 la, everything's great, is there needs to be the understanding of all parts of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because all of us, so, you know, I think we've said this before, all of us have been evil to someone, right? Whether we've done so intentionally or not, the other person's interpretation has been, you know,
that doesn't make a person bad, just human.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. So I'd love to leave us with, you know, this week, if you're on here, and I see we've got a few people on here, what is it that you, I'd love for you to explore your week in what you define something as being, and what you make it mean. And just see, is it something that's wanted or unwanted, rather than positive or negative? What is it, you know, like, is it something that you choose to have in your life, or is it something that you prefer not to have? And then, you know, once you explore it, then you can understand where you're coming from. You can, you know thyself, as they say.
Understand your own patterns, and love yourself anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. So, Nicolette, what are you doing? What are you doing this week?
I have this week I have a presentation in a French group. It's so cool posting in a French group, and having all of these comments come back to me, and having to translate it backwards and forwards. It's pretty cool. In a program called Witch Week. So I've got that presentation on Thursday evening. And next week on the 28th, I have SIP Connect Create, which is my painting by intuition session here in Toowoomba in my gallery space. So if you're in Toowoomba, jump onto that, send me a message, and I can send you the link to register for that. And other than that, I'm painting and building my website.
Awesome.
What do you got going on?
So, well, to start with, I think I just told you, or I know I just told you, on the weekend, I got an email to say that I'm a finalist in the Women with Altitude Awards micro soaring micro category.
Cool.
Business, yeah. So there's something like I don't know. There was all different categories, but they said that there was something like 250 entrants. So that's pretty cool. I was really wrapped. So yeah, we'll be putting that. I'm in the middle of getting branding done, so you may notice some new things on Women of Light and in the different areas that you'll see me. And so we're going to put that on the website as well. There's a new website in the next couple of days coming.
Cool.
Yeah, which is going to be
Exciting
cool.
stuff.
And we have a meetup coming up pretty soon. I think it's this week actually. With I've got a guest speaker, Ali Sugas.
Oh, I love Ali.
Yeah.
I tell you, she has really inspired, and I hope she's watching this or watches it back. She's really inspired me in the last couple of weeks. Her posts have really landed with me, and she's such a beautiful soul. So
yeah, she's talking about a motivation to see what the motivation to Irene, my trusted sidekick, the motivation to believe in what you can't see, or something along those lines. So that's in a couple of that's this week sometime. So we'll maybe put it into the chat here. I'm sure Irene will do that. And we've got some extra prizes that we weren't able to get for our September anniversary. And so we've got some extra prizes, and we've asked the people that have contributed if we can use them at this meetup, and they said yes for sure. So we've got some great prizes. So if anyone's interested in winning a prize, then just put yes please in here and tag me, so that we can give you the link to that meetup. So
awesome.
So that's us. That's me.
Hey, happy Monday, everyone, and have a fabulous week.
And next week, let's do what you were just suggesting. Will we do a card?
Yeah. I think we should draw some cards and see what comes through and have a chat about them.
Awesome. And so Irene's just put here motivation to believe beyond what you can see as this Thursday. And actually, I think that's
there we go.
I'm going to do this one because it accidentally tagged someone. Motivation to believe beyond what you can see is this Thursday. Thank you so much. Cool. Everyone have a great weekend. Week. Where am I? And I encourage you just to look over the week and, what is it that you define, and why do you define it that way? What's the meaning around it? Where did that meaning come from? Ask yourself, was it before, during, or after birth? And if it was after birth, when was it? And so that you can let go of it. Take care, everyone. Enjoy your week. See ya.